Welcome back, everybody. So, there's still a lot of stuff to cover, and I'm going to try to rush through this. I'm going to try to cover a summary of the Vietnam conflict, which spanned about 20 years and four presidents, in about 15 minutes. So, we're going to go fast. Everybody ready? Okay, first off, where is Vietnam? Well, Vietnam is in Southeast Asia. So, here you can see the continent of Africa and the Middle East, Europe and Asia, and we're looking at down here. For reference, this is Japan over here, China, okay, but we're talking about this area, Vietnam, and the neighboring countries, Laos, Cambodia, not so much Thailand. But we'll talk about, in particular, Laos and Cambodia a little bit later. And here you can see a couple of the real important terms, okay? The fact that there's a North Vietnam, which is going to be communist, and a South Vietnam, which is going to be protected by the United States, and the Ho Chi Minh Trail, this trail and network of tunnels, that's the dotted red line, excuse me, that brings supplies and troops all throughout the South. That's going to be the downfall and demise of the United States. Okay, so why did the United States get into a war in Vietnam? Well, it was to prevent the spread of communism. This is essentially an extension of the Truman Doctrine, which promised to fight communism globally. And the probably more important reason was that under the control of the French, Vietnam had become a very important resource supplier of rubber. There were massive rubber plantations, tin mines, and rice paddies. And because there were many foreign companies that owned all these operations, the communists were a huge threat because the communists would seize control of that production and return it to the people of Cambodia under the guise of the Communist Party. So this is a huge problem for American history. It's the only war that America has really lost, officially lost, or surrendered. The Vietnam was the longest war. It is not anymore, which has been eclipsed by the war in Afghanistan now. But 58,000 Americans died during the Vietnam. Now, for a little perspective, that's about half of what we've seen from the coronavirus pandemic so far, and that took about 20 years to amass this amount of casualties, which just shows you how really impactful the coronavirus pandemic has been. But about 61% of them were 21 or younger. So a lot of the Americans that died in this war were kids that had been drafted to go fight. There were 304,000 wounded, 75,000 severely disabled, losing limbs, losing eyesight, losing hearing, etc. 1 million Vietnamese died during this conflict, and the United States spent over $200 billion on the war, which doesn't sound like a lot by today's standards, but remember, inflation means that it was worth a lot more money by today's money value. One of the other huge impacts of the Vietnam War was it changed journalism and the way that wars were covered. Because of television, this was the first war in which TV news reporting was actually embedded in the conflict. And Americans got a really close firsthand view of what was going on in warfare. And it really changed America's understanding of what war actually was, that it was not necessarily so glorious and was quite horrifying. And we'll see some of the specific incidents that really motivated Americans to resist. So quickly, a little bit of background. France had controlled Vietnam for about 100 years. It was called French Indochina. But in 1954, the nationalists rose up and overthrew the French, and the United States feared that Vietnam would fall to communism just as China had in the 1940s. So in 1954, the French negotiated a peace agreement and arranged for France to actually decolonize Vietnam and French Indochina and allow for them to have elections. So the elections were scheduled for 1956. But by far the most popular candidate was a communist. He was the war hero Ho Chi Minh, and he was favored to win the election heavily. The Americans did not want to see this happen, partially because of this notion of the domino theory. We talked about this in the Cold War, that if we let South Vietnam fall to the communists, then Laos and Cambodia and Thailand and Burma and India and Pakistan would fall like dominoes. The Pacific Islands, even Australia, were at risk. So this domino theory was very powerful, and the United States decided to get involved. So initially, under President Eisenhower, seen here, speaking with John Foster Dulles, who was the guy who basically created the CIA. He is actually the airport in Washington, D.C. named after him. But here we see Eisenhower and Dulles move to try to counterbalance the Ho Chi Minh regime. And it begs the question, what might have happened if the US had just never interfered in the election process in South Vietnam? Maybe the war could have been avoided, or there may have been a more peaceful resolution. But because of the fear of the domino theory, we decided to support a staunch anti-communist and create a new government under this guy, Ngo Dinh Diem. And he basically created a horrific government essentially run by his brother, who was never officially elected and had no official title, but ran basically Diem's private army and started killing off all his opposition. And the 1956 election that actually put Diem into power, there's much evidence that the US and the CIA helped to actually rig the election in Diem's favor. So this was seen by the Vietnamese people largely as illegitimate from the beginning. Now, this only got worse because Diem harshly repressed his resistance. By 1957, the CIA had created a specific operation to support detaining and sometimes executing thousands and thousands of Vietnamese who were communists or potential enemies of Diem with no habeas corpus rights whatsoever. Diem passed something called Law 1059, which basically meant that any suspected communist could be put in jail with no trial or any kind of rights. So there's obviously going to be resistance. And there's resistance, in South Vietnam takes the form of the National Liberation Front in 1960. And this was an alliance of communists and non-communists, but opposed the control of America and Diem because of this harsh repression. And this is not democratic rule, right? A rigged election and cracking down on protesters is not what we think of as democracy in America. So by 1961, we had a new president in office, one of the youngest presidents ever. I think at that time he might still be the youngest president ever. Can't remember. Anyway, John F. Kennedy, relatively inexperienced, but he was being pushed to escalate the conflict in Vietnam, to contain communism in Vietnam. He did have some advisors who said, let Vietnam go, just total withdrawal, or this is going to be a terrible entanglement that's going to last a long time. Well, Kennedy tried to take a middle ground, and he sent military advisors, but no military troops. And the initial program was to try to cut off the countryside from the communists. And this was called the Strategic Hamlet Program. So Diem starts moving into the rural villages and trying to create these little villages that were gated and guarded to prevent the communists from actually entering them. And this is called the Strategic Hamlet Program. Here you can see a primary document planning on how they would actually build all these little villages. Of course, this effort was unsuccessful, but a lot of it was because of the massive oppression that was going on. It was collapsing the South. After many Buddhist temples were raided and the Strategic Hamlet Program had begun, Buddhist monks protested, and very famously protested through self-immolation. There's actually a video of this on YouTube, which you can watch if you really want to. It's horrifying to watch this monk set himself on fire and very peacefully sit there and accept his own death in protest of the American and the control of Diem, the American control and the control of Diem. And this was on television, so Americans saw this, and this was horrifying around the world. So eventually, the U.S. turned on Diem, and by 1963, the American CIA basically approved of military leaders in Vietnam overthrowing Diem, and he and his brother, who was in charge of his private army, were both executed shortly after their arrest on the way to military headquarters, actually. So this may be a coincidence, but 3 weeks later in 1963, in November, JF Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. And it probably had a lot to do with his refusal to escalate the war in Vietnam, or at least a lot of people think it did. It may have had something to do with the Bay of Pigs. There's a lot of different theories about the JFK assassination. But essentially, you should know that once Lyndon Johnson takes over as vice president, the war in Vietnam gets escalated heavily. So here's Lyndon Johnson, and he really wanted to send more troops in to Vietnam. And by 1964, there was an incident, which again, here's another example in American history of United States using questionable justification to go escalate a war. And this, in the Vietnam example, was called the Gulf of Tonkin. So in August 1964, there was a possible torpedo attack. The sonar recordings are are unclear, and the person who was reporting the sonar information said it might have been a torpedo, it might not have, but this was used to actually push a war resolution through Congress. And they authorized a massive escalation of troops. So by 1965, Lyndon Johnson had sent an additional 82,000 troops to Vietnam. Also, by 1965, after there were massive attacks on 2 U.S. Army installations that caused a lot of backlash in America, we decided to fight back using bombing campaigns and kind of new weapons of warfare that had not been used, because we were fighting more of an enemy in the jungle that was hiding under the foliage. And so we wanted to use new kind of weapons like incendiary bombs that started fires, like napalm, and chemical weapons that actually would defoliate, would get rid of the jungle foliage so that the soldiers could not hide under the cover of the trees. So this was called Operation Rolling Thunder, and the United States dropped chemical weapons, essentially phosphorus and napalm bombs. White phosphorus bombs cause tremendous burns. They can cause blindness just from looking at them. They create a tremendous amount of heat, and hundreds of thousands of innocent Vietnamese have felt the effects of Operation Rolling Thunder, both through the initial impact of it and the kind of diseases that came afterward. So here's a really, really famous picture that was on the cover of many newspapers of innocent children running out of a village that had just been napalmed. One girl had her clothes burned off and had severe burning all over her arm. I think she was interviewed not too long ago about how it had impacted her life. And here are some of the kind of toxic byproducts. Agent Orange, by the way, lots of it manufactured in Newark, and down by the waterfront in the Eastward, Doremus Avenue and such. We used Agent Orange to spray on the jungles to try to basically defoliate so that it would be easier to attack the Viet Cong, the jungle-based enemy that was winning the war in Vietnam. But of course, it created all these toxic chemicals and led to things like children being born with deformities. There were actually major lawsuits against chemicals like against chemical companies like Monsanto, who produced Agent Orange, who were held responsible for these genetic disorders. All right, so how did the North Vietnamese fight back? Well, they used these kind of guerrilla tactics, these sneak attack, used the jungle as cover, and they used night attacks, surprise attacks, and this incredible network of tunnels. So they built these tunnel complexes where they had barracks and supply stations and even meeting rooms and storage caches. So all of these were pretty much protected from the American bombings, and America never successfully cut off these tunnels. This tunnel system was resupplying the entire effort in South Vietnam, and the Americans never effectively cut it off, regardless of how many bombs they dropped. And this road was called the Ho Chi Minh Trail that all these tunnels followed. Now, in addition, the war is going to have a huge impact on the United States. By 1969, they ended up having a draft lottery. They couldn't have enough soldiers to go fight in this war. And the draft was disproportionate. Black people and poor people were disproportionately put into combat. Many wealthier people could find ways out of the draft, people like our current president. And the draft, combined with the TV images, led to a huge anti-war movement that developed in the late 1960s. And they erupted mostly on college campuses, but by 1968, you could see it all over the country. Also, by 1968, the Vietnamese were winning. The Tet Offensive had major assault on U.S. military operations, and this was very successful. It basically ruined the Johnson administration. Another thing that really hurt the credibility of the Johnson administration was the My Lai massacre, where American troops had basically murdered hundreds of innocent villagers, men, women, and children. So by 1968, there was a disgraced LBJ. He didn't even run for re-election. JFK's brother, Robert Kennedy, ran against Richard Nixon, but was assassinated the night after the June 5th Democratic primary. And although Sirhan Sirhan, the assassin, was arrested, there was never a complete explanation of why he was killed. So when Nixon takes over, he drastically, despite promising to reduce the war, he drastically expands the war into neighboring countries, violates international law, and probably leads to the rise of a major dictator in
Cambodia. Continue this in a minute.